Ready?
Hello and welcome to Rhythm and Pixels, the video game music podcast. This is episode 5-8, and we're your hosts. I'm Rob Nichols.
And I'm Pernell.
How are you doing, Pernell?
I'm doing all right, just keeping busy, running back and forth, doing crazy things, get my game on and my jam on. Life as it goes. And how about yourself there, good sir?
I'm doing good. It's been I feel like I've been kind of bummed out this week, and I'm just ready to hang out and listen to some music.
Wait, what? The crazy kick of Summer Part 2 Electric Boogaloo didn't jolt your shorts?
It jolted my allergies.
Well, that'll do the trick for the negative end of the spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Also, on the show today, we have a special friend. Hey, what's going on? Matt Waldron.
Not much. How you guys doing?
Good.
I know what they call him Matt Ptolemy Bartakamus.
Right.
So, we've been chatting with Matt on Facebook, and he was like, hey, I got an idea for an episode. And he just started sending me music, and I was like, we have to do this episode. So what prompted you to bring this one up?
I was listening to...
Actually, before you go into it, what is the actual topic? That way we'll have context around what you're describing.
No. Wait, I see now you're cutting out, and now that we're getting loud, it's like chopping.
I was saying, what is due to the scenario here, what is the topic that you chose? And then go into why you picked it.
Okay. The topic is chiptune artists, as in chiptune music that is not used in a video game.
Mm-hmm. Yes, or not a cover from a video game either. So this is original chiptune music, and it can also be not just straight, NES or Game Boy music, but a mixture of other things, as long as the heart of the track is the chippiness.
Ooh, that's a relief, because I was...
Yeah, we all did that.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
But it can cover a lot of different... I feel like it covers a wide range of different styles. But yeah, as long as there's a chip in the middle somewhere, I think we're good.
Put the chip in the middle.
Which brings about the question, hers or Lay's?
Whatever's on sale, man.
That's the right answer. Let's be real here for a second. That is the correct answer. So
I'm gonna have to go with hers. But that's yeah. Hers. HERRS.
Well,
Hers.
I can't hate you for that.
I eat it right. Hers.
I made hers mine many a times.
Many a times. It's good stuff.
That's the slogan.
So Matt, when you are looking for chip-based type music, what's the kind of stuff that rings your bell?
I don't know, apparently, as I was going through the artists that I like, a lot of it tends to be funk-based. Anything that has a good bass line, anything that's really funky or has a lot of energy. That's what I like.
Cool. Well, then that's a good intro for your first track. Why don't you lead us off?
Okay. The reason why I came up with this topic was because I was sitting listening to George and Jonathan, which is a group, a team that makes some pretty great chiptune music. I was actually going to go see them live. They were going to open for Anamanaguchi a bunch of years ago, but then on that day, my wife had to go and have a kid or whatever.
Holy cow!
So I didn't get to go. Whatever.
You can always show that to George and John, like, you guys, why?
They'd probably be more happy if they were there at the conception.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Actually,
being a good funk band as they would be, they're like, oh well, we should have started this whole thing, right?
Right. Well, who says they didn't? But
choose your track. What's the tune?
So the first track here is it's the first track off of their first album. Their first album is called The Best Music, and this track is called Intro. Party Every Night.
All right, let's get into it. Wow.
And the ending just really kind of made it work.
That was the way to start the show. That was George and Jonathan intro, Party Every Night.
It just gets you ready to listen to the rest of the album, and really gets you ready to party every night. Really,
I keep wanting to follow that with "Want to Rock and Roll All Day."
Yeah, I keep thinking like "Party Every Night." So the chip music that I like to look for is stuff that is really makes me feel nostalgic and kind of emotional, and that's why I'm choosing for my first track an artist that I've recently discovered called Aethernaut. And this song is called Super Mega Ultra, and it's just amazing stuff. I'll talk more about the artist when we come back, but dig this tune. Yeah, that was Super Mega Ultra from the artist Aethernaut. And I love that song. Pernell was like he was like in a trance like the whole time. It was awesome.
Between your track and Matt's track, this is starting to become my favorite episode of the show, just by virtue of the fact that the music is really hot. I'm digging it.
So yeah, Aethernaut is oh my god. Okay, I think he's based out of Denver. I'm totally probably wrong with that, but his live performances consist of the like a laptop kind of setup, but he also plays violin. And so I've seen on YouTube, if you look up Aethernaut on YouTube, you'll find performances where I think it's a MIDI controller that's controlling the synthesizer, like the actual music through the violin, and other times where he's playing violin and accompaniment to the sound of the Nintendo. It's really, really cool. The guy's fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
And he's going to be a guest on the show in a few weeks. So I'm really, really looking forward to having him on here and just, picking his brain about, what he is inspired by, what inspires him, and then what his work is like.
So Rob mentioned the topic that he requested for that episode, and let me tell you, without giving away what the actual topic is, I think I'm going to be working overtime to choose tracks for that episode. But it's worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it.
It makes me break out 2 shovels to get that extra dig time in.
Extra dig. All right, so Pernell, what do you look for in the chiptunes? Like what rocks your boat?
Oh, I'll get into specifically what tickles my jiggles.
What rings your bell?
Honey barbecue wings. But we're not talking about food items. We're talking about great tunage. And like I said, after this first track, I'll kind of explain what tickles my jiggles for chiptunes. But just to disclaim and get this out the way, I would have chosen an Anamanaguchi track. That track would have been Video Challenge.
Oh, yes.
Their best track, regardless of how far to the studios they get. Video Challenge will always be their best. However, I feel like
disagreement,
disagree, and I accept your disagreement and tell you that you're insane.
Let's make this a segment at the end of the show where we all, at the count of 3, say our favorite track.
But I just wanted to say that I feel like the majority of people that are listening to us know who Anamanaguchi is. If you don't mention it on the Facebook or something, we can give you a good track.
Oh, yeah, I already have.
But in regards to this, I don't want to use one of these precious slots for them. So,
they've been on the show before.
Yeah, they have, exactly. They've been on the show for game-related music. So they've had their time with Rhythm and Pixels.
They've been in the spotlight. They've flown close to the sun. But Pernell,
twice.
What is your damn track?
Oh, my bad. It's One Lap Around the Gym. No, I'm sorry.
That's hilarious.
The actual track is from an artist that I learned about from a video game. But this track is not from a game. It's from one of her actual original albums. And it is from the artist known as Chipzel, Chipzel, and the track is called Something Beautiful. And I gotta say, it really got to me, and I really hope it gets to all of you out there. Give it a jam session.
All right, that was Chipzel.
I would have to say that was very much something beautiful.
Ooh.
I.e. the name of the track, and it was by the artist known as Chipzel, an artist that I learned about from the game Super Hexagon on my Samsung X Galaxy, whatever the frick it's called. Galaxy S. I'm not promoting it, it's just the phone I own. And I gotta say, to go back to the original question that you posed before the track played, what usually tickles my fancy in chiptunes?
I was actually a little surprised that was the track that you were into, because I was expecting more like a rock type sound, and that was like definitely like German techno-y.
Oh, well, the way it works for me is I listen to a wide array of music, to be honest, but it just usually doesn't come up on the show because game music is usually rock-based, but it goes all over the place outside of the game spectrum. But if I'm choosing a chiptune track, and in a lot of ways normal music too, I try to create a story in my head that goes with the track. I like high energy, but when the music is actually playing, I like sort of a story to play out. For example, with this track, I heard it, and my logic pulls out to a sort of, I want to say like a homeless kid who is in a store, and he shoplifts something from the counter, and he sneaks out. The game track, as the music track changes, he's getting caught by the security guard who sees him, and he starts running from the security guard. Security guard chases him through the mall, he's dodging people, and he ends up tripping into a weird thing. He's up in a world that's not like our own, and he's wandering, and he's lost. And he does a few things there, because I'm not going to go into the specifics. But ultimately, he ends up having to run to escape the world that he fell into. And the door's starting to close on him. And he's trying to barely manages to escape. And then for some odd reason, because apparently life and death situations does it to a person, he decides to return what he stole to the store. And the clerk loves him, and he adopts him and lets him keep the bread. So that's the plot that came from that song for me.
And that is the plot to the song Something Beautiful.
Yes, and I do this for every song I typically.
No, that's cool. I like that. I like that it paints a story in your head.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about me, but that's usually what works for me when it comes to that kind of music. The other version of that would be, not story-wise, but like the other concept would be just like a music track that makes me want to get up and go, and it makes me just kind of feel like I need to get things done or feel motivated.
That was definitely a driving, like it had a very driving beat, very driving kind of like arpeggiated melodies and things. And it was and Chipzel from Ireland composes primarily with 2 Game Boys, and it sounded like 2 Game Boys just like having a good fight.
And both of them won.
Both of them won.
You can't defeat awesome with awesome. It just doesn't work that way.
All right. So Matt, why don't you paint us a story with your next track?
All right. Next, we're going to go with an artist that I found when I was looking for music for this episode. The artist goes by the name Protodome. Seems to be, according to their page, seems to be a jazz artist from the UK that works mostly in chip music. The album that this is from is called Chip Funk. And the track is called Ham Jam.
Yes.
Well, I'm already sold. Let's just get into the meat.
I thought, yeah, he just wants the meat.
Let's get into the meat of the situation here.
All right.
Let's chomp into some ham jam.
You gotta record him singing.
I got it.
Yeah.
Ooh. That was the best ending ever. That was really good. So that was it I'm sorry, who was it?
Protodome.
Protodome.
With Ham Jam. And it was really a toss-up between Ham Jam and Interstellar Good Times. But,
you made the right call with the ham jams and the hatbacks.
It's just so much funk in one small package.
Oh, man, that was super funky. That gave me like a Toe Jam and Earl kind of feeling.
And Letitia?
Letitia? Wait.
Well, the all-forgotten third member of their party.
Oh, I guess I've never played that game before.
I think 90% of the Toe Jam and Earl fan base didn't play that game, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with the soundtrack. But that was a really good pick. I love all the funk that you're picking up.
Yep.
I love that this episode, between three people choosing artists from a genre, specifically being chiptunes, is actually very diverse as far as what we're putting on.
Absolutely.
So here comes a super diverse track. This is from an artist I discovered last year. His name is Dire Hit, and the song is called Intrepid. And I love this because it's very strictly Game Boy C64. I forget which hardware he's using, but it's very grimy, and it's about the same tempo. So it kind of goes along with the track that you picked, Matt. So let's check out Intrepid by Dire Hit. this is Intrepid by Dire Hit, and he gets a lot of mileage out of that kind of vowel filter you can get off of a square wave and synthesizer. It's really, really cool. And then also all the crazy work he's doing with the sample channel on the Game Boy is super cool. It's a very, very slow build, but a lot of his tracks are like that. And then once it really kicks in, like, it's just amazing how many sounds he's cramming into like a small space with such a slow tempo. It's really cool. I really like that. What do you think, Pernell?
I was kind of in a zone there. Like, it wasn't energy based. It was more along the lines of just kind of like daisied. Like, I'm just in a daze, more so I would call it. And I just kind of swayed along to it as it played out. I liked it, though. There was a lot going on for such a quiet track, which shouldn't be surprising to anybody. It's just my brain perceives
it was cool.
action as energy, and that was more like very low-key.
Yeah.
But also very, very active, and he changed up quite a bit. I was a fan.
Yeah, I feel like the show's kind of like on an arc right now. So I know your next track is probably coming up a little bit, right?
Oh, it's coming up.
So what's your next track?
Well, for this particular track, I had to consult an expert. He's a guy I know. He goes by the name of TF. And this guy knows chiptunes. In fact, it's his primary bend. And whereas I love chiptunes, since I got to the shoegaze quarter of the music verse, I have fallen off the bandwagon quite a bit. So he hit me with, like, kid you not here, 50 different artists or so. Maybe 40 if I'm not being so generous. And I weeded through a ton of them. This is one of the guys that stood out. Goes by the name of Chibi-tech. Chibi-tech with an H. And the track is called Lolitasia Season. It's a very strange name. But once you hear the music, you really won't care.
All right, well, strap in.
For Lolly Time.
right. That was I'm gonna say Lolitasia season. How about that?
I think that works better than what I said.
By Chibi-tech. That was awesome, dude. You picked a drum and bass track,
And I didn't even know it.
I love that.
This
It
track,
was amazing.
this falls under the spectrum of the energy version of my spectrum, because the only story I could put to this is I'm tripping and I'm just like flipping out and I don't know what's going on. And I don't even know why I just said that, because I only picture tripping from what I've seen on The Simpsons. So
They meant, like,
basically,
falling
Chili
down, like-
Pepper Coyote space trip.
like
That's
that.
what I hear, or what I feel like I would experience if I were hearing this track and trying to place a scenario around it. Because it's everywhere, but it's so good.
Pernell 5 double espressos in the club.
There, actually, that's perfect.
That's the song.
That's perfect, because I have overdone it on the caffeine, and yes, weird things do happen when that occurs. So,
What'd you think of that one, Matt?
That was amazing. It was it was fantastic. Also, I want to add to Pernell's thing that he also watched an episode of the Seizure Robots, from
yes,
the
of course I
Simpsons
did.
to Tokyo.
What's going on here? Oh, they all fall on the floor and start twitching.
Oh, when in Rome.
Yeah, that was the best. Oh, Pikachu.
All right, moving along. Matt, you have a third track for us?
I do.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Because if you don't,
I do.
You're out of the club.
oh, well, you're safe.
The third track is from a Swedish artist called Paza, Paza. I think he actually does like other music, and the 8-bit stuff is like his side project or whatever. But his album Ninjani Discus from like 2004 is one of the first like chiptune albums I sat and listened to. That was just chiptune stuff. This track is, well, I don't know how to pronounce it because I'm not from Sweden, but
That's part of the fun. Give it a go anyway.
I'm gonna say tiu. It's tiu.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. To you.
Tiu from by Paza.
I was by far the worst pronunciation of the group.
Shut up. All right. That's the best. What a way! Like how else could that track have ended? You know, that was just,
right.
That was the way to do it. So that was Paza with TUTU. Oh man, Matt, thank you for introducing me to that because I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just remembered while we were listening to it where I discovered him from. There's a Beck song called Hell Yes, and there's a bunch of he had a bunch of like remixes on like a single album or whatever, and a bunch of the remixes were like 8-bit remixes, and Paza did a version of Hell Yes that was like amazing, and some other Beck song that he did.
Wow.
And I'm like, I gotta find out who this guy is, and then like it took me a little while to find his website because he didn't really have much of a website because he's just like some guy in Sweden.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it had a little bit of information about him and how he'll sometimes make music with whatever chip thing he uses and a vocoder and a little Casio keyboard for kids with animal buttons on it. And I'm like, this guy's great. Nobody knows about him. I got to tell everybody.
And he did, because that's how I learned about him.
I'm sure I made Pernell force him to listen to it a bunch of times.
What throws me off, though, I just remember you made a comment about the Beck album. I was actually happy and sad about that because maybe, unless my memory's a little bit off here, I listened to that album, and that was the first Beck album I listened to, which made me believe that all of Beck's music was chippy.
Yeah.
So I learned the truth, and it saddened me because due to coming in on Beck from a chiptune scene, I was disappointed by everything else he did. So
he does a lot of different kinds of music.
Yeah, I'm not saying the guy is bad. I'm just saying
instead it's just good.
Exactly. When I learned about the Protodome, I thought they were Mega Man cover bands, but then I realized they were a band who was just inspired by Mega Man, which ruined the Protodome for me. And you know how much people love the Protodome. So I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying that Pernell was disenchanted.
Yeah, you came in expecting one thing and you got something different.
I expected a Big Mac, I got a Big Mick, and it just kind of went south from there. So
that's what you get for going to McDowell's.
That's exactly what happens. Jeebus.
McDonald's.
Right.
All right, so my final track is called Blue by the artist James Landino, and this is DJ Cutman's mix of that track Blue. And I know he also releases a lot of music on DJ Cutman's label Game Chops. So check this out. This track is called Blue.
I'll get my pen out right now.
And we're back. That was Blue by James Landino. This was the DJ Cutman. I think it was a DJ Cutman remix. And you can find that on the compilation Chiptunes Win Part 2, which is these if you look up Chiptunes Win, I think it's like Chiptunes like dash win online, these compilations of just like 15 to 20 tracks of just amazing artists, amazing music all over the spectrum. I really encourage you to check that out. We'll have links to that on the Facebook and on the webpage. But yeah, I felt like kind of ending my set with something super kind of house, mellow, kind of club style.
It was great. It was like feel good, dance in your chair kind of music.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for everybody, but chair dancing is what I did.
We haven't. I feel like this episode more than other one, we haven't been doing as much chair dancing lately, and today has been a good chair dance.
Oh, it's been a chair dance.
Good, yeah.
It's been dancing.
All right, so we have one final track for you, and that is from Pernell.
And this is really hard to choose because I had multiple. But we've had a lot of tracks that were chippy, none of which were lyricky. I figured I'd change that a little bit. So here's another Pernell high energy special with a dash of la la la, and that track will be coming from an artist that goes by the name of Chip. Crash, cross out the chip. Because that's how weird I am today. The actual name of the artist is Crashfaster.
Right.
His track is called Go! From the awesome album Super Chroma. Give it a listen. If you don't like it, you're crazy.
Okay, that was a Pernell track.
You think? You think?
Yeah.
That was said that song. If they didn't say go, they said Pernell.
To put it into perspective as to how much that track resonated for me, it's been a rough week, a very, very rough week for me. And I've been listening to a lot of music throughout that week in preparation for this episode. I got to this track in particular. I didn't know that Bandcamp had a limit to the amount of times you can listen to a track. But I listened to this track so many times, they said, are you going to buy this thing or not? And of course I was like, well, I guess I will. Why the heck not? So there you go. This track is stellar. It is high energy. It is very positive. Everything about it just screams good times. Like I said, if you didn't like this track, tell me who you are, because I need to know and then figure out what your deal is. Not really inciting that different opinions. I see an issue that people have. Everybody has things, different thoughts. It's okay. But I'm saying that I can't imagine how a person could not like that song.
Oh, totally. That was I love that. Matt, how are you feeling? How are you digging that track?
Absolutely. That was wow. That was great.
Did you feel like you had to move?
A Pernell track.
Yeah.
Hey.
It was unexpected when the vocals kicked in. I was definitely not expecting vocals. That was the good first full on vocal kind of track.
I did warn you guys. I said I wanted to inject some vocals into this chippy scene.
Glad you did.
And inject I did with a syringe of joy.
Well, since this is not a normal episode, we're not going to have a bonus round. So for more information for all of the artists on today's show, check out rhythmandpixels.com. We'll have links to the websites, bios, Bandcamps, and all of their goodies for you to download.
Wait, can I still say the word bonus round even though there isn't one?
Yeah, do it.
Bonus round. Yeah.
Let me get it clean.
Bonus round.
Hey, I want to thank you for joining us today on episode 5-8 of Rhythm and Pixels, our focus on chiptune music. This is our chiptune spectacular. Matt, thank you for joining us. We had a great time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So,
I'm glad we were able to focus on, a genre of music that has to do with video games, but isn't directly video game related.
I have to say, it may not be approved by the rhythm of the Pixels rhythm team here, but I would like to propose, due to the sheer volume of chiptunes artists that exist out there, that even though we try to do repeat topics but once in a blue moon, I would like for chiptunes to be a more regular repeat than the normal repeat.
I think I'm okay with that. How about we do an extended bonus round on the anniversary show, and then maybe we look into just doing straight up chiptune shows.
I'm a game for that.
Awesome, cool.
Nice.
I like that. So Matt, tell us what's driving you in, or what got you into chiptune music.
I remember when Anamanaguchi got kind of big. A lot of people were writing articles about this whole chiptune movement, and there are artists who are making video game style music that uses the hardware of video games, but it doesn't have anything to do with video games. And I was like, that's been going on for years, because I used to download demos from the demo scene, stuff on my 28K modem back in high school or whatever, in the mid 90s, and that always came with this crazy probably Scandinavian or whatever chiptune music.
A lot of those guys who were in the demo scene are from that area.
yeah, and I was always like, wow, this is such great music, and it was just music that existed to be music by itself, and that just felt like a natural thing to me. Why wouldn't you do that? and apparently that's something that doesn't occur to a lot of people, I guess, or to a larger audience. But I'm glad that it's blown up so much that so many other artists can really get their hands in it, and obviously, as you can see from this episode, there's such a wide array, of different styles and everything that you can get out of it. It's great.
Yeah, it is really interesting how I think the whole demo scene in those days like really thrived on old bulletin board systems and word of mouth, people handing discs back and forth to each other, particularly in like places in the UK, Scandinavia. But now with the internet, like it's everywhere. More people are listening to it and getting interested in making it themselves, and even some of the older stuff is more accessible, which I think is really cool. And then with with the hardware and the software becoming so much more inexpensive, and that's becoming more accessible, you're seeing like combinations of sounds, not just the Game Boy music with something else. It's like a full band in a Nintendo, or it's the sound but mixed with more modern, like kind of electronic stuff. And I'm really interested in that.
It may have been Rob that mentioned this to me, but for folks who are probably listening to everyone here talking, what the heck is a demo scene and the music that comes from that? Just to throw this out there for a lot of folks who like this show that may have experienced this period. Apparently, if you were a fan of the Dreamcast era, there was a moment where there was a certain scene that was putting out a very special disc that lets you play import games and other music games too. The intro screen for a number of those games had music on it that was made from people that were involved in this demo scene that these guys are talking about.
That's why it's called a demo. The beginning, the opening, and there's a whole podcast devoted to this. If I don't know if I've introduced you to this to you, Matt. It's called the Impulse Project.
I remember hearing about it.
It's so good. I love that music. But yeah, it's it's a groups of programmers who do graphics and 3D, and hackers and crackers who would crack the software, and they would cram tiny little bits of video before like the crack or the program would play. And then they would have music in there too. So a lot of the times, early days, the music would have to be really, really small file sizes. And this was like music that was made on the Amiga and the Commodore 64. So it was very creatively done. And the scene was very, very small, but it was super creative. And it still goes on today. People using that same hardware, almost in the same way that the whole chiptune scene is still going on.
This is a pretty cool idea, and the fact that, not even necessarily just in relation to this topic, but just the concept of taking very little and doing a lot with it, which is basically what demo is. Now, it's a spectacular idea.
I don't want to say it's directly related to that whole like software piracy thing, but that's how I was introduced to it.
So it was often directly related, because it was the guys who would be doing the cracks and stuff would also, that's how they would compete with other groups. Is here's our demo that we put before our crack. Look what we did, with this graphic technique, or with this song or whatever. Actually, I watched a documentary about it not too long ago. There's a really good documentary that I can't remember the name of.
No,
it was on Vimeo or something.
I know what you're talking
really
about. I think
watching.
It's just called like Demo Scene something. It's like
I went into the history of it and stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and a lot of it is based out in Europe and in that area. So, honorable mentions for me. I want to bring up Saber Pulse. Saber Pulse is one of the artists that first got me back interested into chip music and actually video game music in general. So, really classic, really good stuff. I think at the beginning of kind of like one of the big booms of the whole scene. So I want to give a shout out to Saber Pulse. Pernell, do you have any artists that didn't make the cut?
I actually may have a few, but at the same time, they were just all over the place. Like, for example, there was an artist I came across called basically Father Glamour. Look him up if you got a moment. Also, an artist that goes by the name of Cubby, Kubbi. Awesome friggin' artist. And last but not least, really not least, you have another guy who goes by the name of Goto80. I'm mispronouncing it. Who the heck knows? But it's spelled Go280.
No, yeah, it's Go280.
Sounds like a basic.
Yeah, it's a programming command. It reminds me of another artist that's out there called TRS80 or Trash 80.
Oh, and also worth mentioning, you may have heard a track throughout the course of this last segment of conversation, and I want to recommend that artist as well. I just couldn't fit them into the episode because there's just too much good music to go around. But they go by the name of Slime Girls, and they kind of have a nice variety of music across what they do. But the track that you will have heard here was one of my favorites. It goes by the name of Splash Nebula.
All right, let's see if I can fit that in there. All right, so Matt, what is the best Anamanaguchi tune?
Also my honorable mention.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go with that first.
Really, I really couldn't think of any lesser known ones off the top of my head, so it might be a cheat, but I'm gonna have to say Jake Kaufman.
That is a cheat.
Now he does have some albums that are just straight up chiptune like concept albums.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what he did when he left. Way Forward, right?
Yeah. And he did continue to do game music and stuff, but I think FX3 is one of the really good ones.
Yeah.
All right. So you were asking my favorite Anamanaguchi track?
Yes.
Yes.
My favorite or the best?
What do you think? Okay,
go with both. Just go with both.
What do you think is the best?
Now, I think their best is Airbrushed, which I know Pernell is like,
I'm sneering at you through the computer.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think that's got the most widest appeal and stuff like that of their older stuff, and I like their newer stuff too. But my favorite is Densmore.
Oh, you awesome man!
Good pick.
That's my favorite.
Off their last album, Endless Fantasy. Pernell.
Well, he already stole my best because I was going to say their best track is Densmore. Way to have awesome taste there, sir.
It takes you on a journey,
Densible turn. I don't even know what that to describe. It's just a good freaking song. But my favorite track of theirs, I don't care how studio-based they get, how many Target ads they get, I'm going to always go back to Video Challenge on their very first cut. That is their best track that they've ever done for me. To write the question, my favorite track of theirs they've ever done. Densmore is their best.
Right, that was on their album High Voltage, which was first released on the... I'm not sure if they're still putting stuff out there, but that was the online label 8-Bit Peoples. Which, if you look them up, 8BP, you'll find some amazing stuff out there.
That's where I got the Paza album.
Yeah. For me, it's Airbrushed. Best, favorite, Airbrushed, all the time.
Yep.
I can listen to that song over and over again.
It's a great song.
I think it's just well composed. It's well produced. It's just a great rock song. It transcends, I think, just chip music or rock music. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
And it shows off them as a band, I think, the best.
I agree. And they're definitely the first band, like I said, I always thought the chiptune music by itself was natural, but I always, thought, when they came out and it was regular instruments, real instruments, along with, the NES as another instrument, I just thought, oh, finally, why hasn't anyone done this to this extent before?
Yeah, that was my first thought too. It was like,
yeah,
it was like this. It's such an interesting idea, and it works so well. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't really been done to this level.
And I gotta admit, even though I made the earlier crack about the Target ad, I have to honestly say that I share a similar feel regarding Anamanaguchi that these guys have. But the day that I first heard their song on that Target commercial, wasn't expecting. I didn't know it was even going to be a thing.
Which song did they play?
I don't even remember. That just goes to show you. It was just the fact that it was on an actual nationally released ad. It shocked the living daylights out of me.
Yeah.
And it was gold. It told me at that point whether or not people accepted it, it was good enough to work for anyone to listen to. It's the equivalent of like I used to joke about playing Streets of Rage OSTs in the nightclub and not telling anybody that it was from the game. Like, it works. So,
yeah. Like they together, like they've really come very, very far. I like a lot of their new stuff very much, just in a different way.
Yeah.
I just feel like the band is just different. They've just gone a different direction. It's not the chiptune type stuff. And if you want that, there's plenty of other artists there to dig into.
Right.
And I almost want to point out, just on a random note, that between 3 people who all named their favorite and their best Anamanaguchi track, none of us mentioned what I've been told is more so the overall fan favorite track, which is Prom Night.
Oh, Prom Night's awesome.
That's a great song.
Yeah,
It is a good song.
I think it's that's like
That would be my second.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I was just so shocked that none of us
Yeah.
outright said it. It was like,
I would say that's my third. My second is definitely Dawn Metropolis. Yeah, that's a great one. That was the first song I think I heard of theirs. But
Yeah.
we're coming on time here, so I think we're going to wrap it up. I want to let everyone know our next episode is going to be the Halloween Spooktacular. So we got to find some spooky songs from some spooky games.
and it may not necessarily be spooky for the reasons that you might expect.
Yeah, it might just be Pernell telling you scary stories while we're
This is
listening
true.
to Nintendo music.
And then he looked into his checkbook and saw that he paid all of his bills and had no money.
And then after that, we're going to have a special guest, Aethernaut, on the show, and we're going to dig into some great music there. If not the week after, then the week after that, I might be away for work, but we will find out. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be the week after that. But I digress. If you'd like to contact us, send us a message. If you'd like to let us know how we're doing. If you hate our guts.
You don't hate our guts.
If you have a correction, if we misspelled something, if we got something completely wrong, we don't want to hear it. Send it to Pernell at his email address.
At I don't care what you have to say.com. But if you have positive things to say, rhythmandpixels at hotmail.com. Please disregard the previous thing. Rhythm and Pixels is the real address.
And for more information on the show, information about the show, where to find the show, and about the artists featured on the show, and the full track list, check out rhythmandpixels.com. And for other ways to reach us and for kind of a heads up on when the show is going to be, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Rhythm and Pixels. We're also streaming some games here and there, so check us out on twitch.tv/Rhythm and Pixels. That's easy enough to find us there. We'll give a heads up on Twitcher. I almost said Twitcher.
Let's start Twitcher, and then they can check us out.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird, unholy combination of the two things. We'll do some stuff there. I'm just streaming Street Fighter V because that's all I'm playing right now. But I'm planning some retro games pretty soon.
And I want to mention that, contrary to what you may or may not know about us, there is a wide dearth of fantastic games at our disposal. So if you can recommend a game that you'd want to see us, Rhythm and Pixel, and possibly special guest Matt, who knows, we'll see.
Yeah, sure.
Stream on this phantasmagoric journey, hit us up on that same email address we mentioned earlier. Tell us what you want to see, or also Facebook, and we may be able to slip it in a little bit and give a good game session for you.
That also reminds me, coming up soon as my my computer situation is situated, there will be some special Rhythm and Pixel episodes of Pernell and Matt Play Games.
Oh,
great.
coming
Oh,
to
mercy.
a YouTube near you.
That was a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I'm
Yes.
looking forward to yelling at it.
All right, Matt, thanks again for being on the show. You're always welcome. Every time, like, you send
Thank
us like
you.
recommendations, I'm like, no, you got to come on the show and you got to play your favorite tracks.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I will try and come up with some more recommendations so that I can weasel my way back up.
No, never, not weaseling. It's all love.
I'd like to suggest an episode, music that you would cook to.
Well,
I do have another suggestion that I think I brought up a while ago. Licensed games.
Yes.
Like movie licensed games, stuff like that.
well, we actually have
Someday.
a crossover episode I'll tell you about coming up that's very similar to that. But for now, this has been the Rhythm and Pixels video game music podcast. I'm Rob,
And I'm Pernell.
and thank you for listening, and have a great day.
And remember, music comes in many flavors, shapes, sizes, varieties, what have you. However, as we all know, in the world at large, people tend to give you the stink eye when you mention things that aren't amongst the norm. I say to heck with that. If you like a sound, if you want to hear it, you listen to it, you enjoy it, and you share it with the world. Because, hey, if it weren't for people like that, this episode probably wouldn't exist. So like what you like, share what you like, and let other people know that it's cool to like different. That's all there is to that.